All right. Okay, this is important stuff, too. All right, Mr. Chancey, the Florida legislature recently passed legislation requiring any willing pharmacy language in addition to PBM transparency requirements. This language requires a PBM to include any pharmacy in their network as long as certain conditions are met, giving seniors more care options and affordable options. Again, more care choices and affordable options, excuse me. One of the policies originally included in the December CR, and of course it was removed at the end, was language to enforce any willing pharmacy in Medicare Part D. Can you share how this language will help your patients and seniors in Medicare?
Yes, sir. I think that's a great question. I had a patient just a few weeks ago that she came in on a Friday afternoon around 3:30, 4 o'clock, had her children with her, and she was heading out of town. She said, can I go ahead and get the prescription filled? She dropped it off at the drive-thru, and she said, I need to go to the bank and come back. Within 10 minutes after we filled the medication, she had not come back yet. We got a call from the PBM, and they told us that we needed to reverse that claim, back it out, and transfer that claim to Walgreens in the next city. And our pharmacist said, well, she came to us. She chose us to fill this, and you've approved it. And they said, well, if you don't do this, you're going to be in violation of your contract. So my pharmacist backed it out and transferred the prescription to Walgreens. And so the onus of having to explain something that we didn't understand was put on us when she came back. She was in a hurry to get out of town. But that's the type things that are terrible for the patients, they're terrible for us, and it takes away from the care and convenience of the patient. And it also limits access.
Thank you. Mr. Grimminger, can you further detail about why building off Florida's PBM accountability law with the PBM transparency policy we've marked up is important for employers at the federal level?
Certainly. So a couple of thoughts. We have a fundamentally broken market when it comes to the PBMs and the interaction with the drug companies. At some level, the two sides who like to hate each other are really playing very much the same game. Drug companies are winning, PBMs are winning. Drug companies have justifications to have higher list prices, PBMs have justifications to have larger rebates and larger fees that are tied to the price of the drugs. The transparency that is provided under your bill would finally allow employers to actually understand how much money the PBMs are making on each drug, how much money the employers are paying on each drug, how much money the chain or retail or mail-order pharmacies are making on the drug, whether or not those fees are actually higher for chain or retail or mail-order pharmacies owned by the PBMs as opposed to going to one of Mr. Chancey's units. It would provide the kind of information that employers could actually use to price shop, identify lower cost options, better drugs, and ultimately reduce some of the gaming that we see in the commercial market. But one of the things that's appealing about your bill is that it does not tell employers specifically how they have to structure their market, right? It says that the PBMs have to pass on all rebates. It still allows for spread pricing. It still allows for value-based purchasing. It still allows for a lot of different design that PBMs and employers could actually use in sort of a fair and free and transparent market to actually look for better options for drugs.
Thank you. Mr. Chancey, I still have some time here. Mr. Chancey, I've been a longtime supporter of policies to improve the quality of life for diabetic patients, and I co-chair, as Mr. Getz said, the diabetic conference. I've become aware of a pharmaceutical manufacturer launching two different versions of an insulin biosimilar, one branded and one unbranded, at two different price points in order to land on a PBM formulary. In many cases, the higher priced branded reference product was exclusively covered by plan sponsors, completely limiting access to a cheaper, therapeutically equivalent biosimilar, or requiring patients to go through unnecessary step therapy in order to access a cheaper biosimilar version of the drug. Can you explain what this means for seniors who rely on insulin in terms of what they're paying at the pharmacy counter? What can we do to address this particular issue? Again, for Mr. Chansey.
Another good question. I think that when, it doesn't make any sense when there's a cheaper generic version and the preferred drug on the formulary is a brand name drug, and they're having to pay a higher brand copay for that drug. So, you know, we know that that's rebate driven. So that's unfair to the patient, and it takes the cheaper version away from them.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Chairman, you know, in your particular bill, you have this particular language that's going to be very helpful to the consumer.
Yeah.
And it came from the University of Florida School of Pharmacy. I'm assuming that it did. So it's Florida law.
The gentleman yield.